Give him a second. His audio's connecting. You're on mute.
Wait for it.
One moment, please. One moment, please.
There we go.
There we go.
How are we doing?
Oh, for Christ's sake. I'm embarrassed to tell you that I was watching American Idol on, and my wife, because we usually watch it Sunday nights. Of course, it's Tuesday, but anyway, long story. But I'm glad that that should not make the podcast. Let's hope. So.
Well, there is
likely that it's going to.
There is a little.
There you go. You can add it in. It's okay. Well, I won't be offended.
Hey everybody, welcome to Curling Nation Season 3, Episode 9. Travel Time with Mike Harris. We've got a good show. Mike Harris is here. Talks about curling and all the coaching he's done all over the world.
Craig's not here. He's on assignment.
Craig's not here. He's on assignment in Colorado.
I'm right here.
There he is.
I'm just remote.
By the magic of the internet.
Next to you, smelling bacon.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
But first of all, thanks to Motus Financial for their support of Curling Nation. If your curling club or business needs a credit card processing system, point of sale, online store, Mason has what you need. Go to motuscc.com and he'll hook you up. They have a wide variety of payment services, so Mason can get you set in the right direction. Also, we've still got some cards for sale. Contact the show, email the show. Cards for playing ends. curlingnation@curlingnetwork.com if you want some cards.
Hey,
you're getting better at that. Good job.
Sort of. Yeah.
I have a question, Joel. As a founding member of Curling Nation, do I get a free set? Because I've got some serious gambling and
for the Brier
coming up very soon. And I need
possibly trade something for that. Yes, we could work something out, I'm sure.
Okay. Otherwise, we use Uno cards, which don't work nearly as well.
These will work awesome for your gambling needs.
Yeah, ours are. It's just a mess, and we always lose track of who's who. But I think this would be much easier.
I would like to have written down the rules of how you do it, because it sounds complicated but super fun.
It is both of those things, but we are always intoxicated while doing it, so we don't necessarily remember the rules from year to year.
Okay.
But I can tell you that Ben Hebert ruins hundreds of dollars worth of wins every single year at the Brier due to a special rule that is applied, and he's the most guilty of.
All right,
awesome.
So maybe we'll have to do a whole special episode.
We'll do a special episode
or
about
something,
it or something.
Just on the rules of that.
Do a TikTok or something.
Got it.
That'd be gross.
We call it. Do you want to know what we call it?
Yeah.
We call it Curlo.
Curlo.
Partially because it's.
Is that partially because you used to use Uno cards?
Yes.
Okay.
That is exactly why it has the O on the end, is because we have to use Uno cards. But we have we have written down rules before and lost the rules. And so it's more fun that we have to make them up every year. But
love it.
That would be a special add-on pack.
All right, let's do it. Okay, we'll figure that out later. What else is going on?
Sorry for the distraction.
That's okay.
So the Scotties happened.
Yep, sure did.
Team Canada won the Scotties.
Yep. Congratulations to Carrie Einerson, Val Sweeting, Shannon Burchard,
friend of the show,
and
friend of the show,
Brianne Harris. It was like plus half.
That was
like
that's like at least a third.
She's like 5 months pregnant or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how far along she is. It's pretty amazing.
I said 5 months, and my wife thinks it's more. That woman is pregnant.
Yeah.
Pregnant and just kicking butt out there.
Yeah.
Is she going to Worlds like that?
I don't know. It's not my. I didn't ask.
I assume she's going.
I'll text Shannon tomorrow
for the World,
and we'll find out. Probably not. But yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, congratulations to them.
they won. This is 4 in a row.
4 in a row.
For Team Iverson.
Yeah.
5 in a row for
Friend of the show, Shannon Burchard.
Yeah, she won 5 in a row.
5
Did
in
she
a row
win?
for-
Did she win with Jones the year before she went with
Yeah.
Anderson? Yeah, 5 in a row.
And
Way to go!
You want to hear something nuts
Yeah,
that I just read today?
100%.
Four of those years she was first team All-Star, and the other year she was second team All-Star.
That's pretty good.
That's
Decent.
pretty good.
That's
Decent
pretty
if
good.
you need her, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're looking for somebody to play second or third the one year,
Yeah.
That wins the
I guess
Scotties
she's-
all the time.
I guess she's pretty good.
every time.
Yeah.
Also going
Congrats.
on, Junior Worlds is going on right now. Team USA being represented by Samson on the guy's side and
Okay.
Thoreau on the ladies' side.
Cool.
It's going on right now. Check out Curling Zone for the scoring.
Where's
That's
that? Are
in Fussen, Germany.
Ooh,
It's out in
Fussen.
Germany.
All right. Cool.
That there's a really great
Friend of the
donor
show,
shop.
Mike Moore, is out there.
There's a really great donut shop. Did you say?
Donor
Donor.
Donor.
Oh, some kebabs.
donor
Right.
kebabs.
There you go.
It's kind of like a gyro
Yep. I've heard of donor
for those
kebabs.
who don't know.
It's right by the
What-
right by the rink there.
Yeah,
Cool.
well, between the
Sweet.
rink and the hotels.
Perfect. Awesome. What else?
Mixed doubles just
yeah.
got started today.
Yeah, it started today.
U.S. Mixed Doubles Championship in Kalamazoo.
We're
Again,
recording on Tuesday the 28th.
We're recording on Tuesday the
It
28th.
might, this
That
might
just
be
got
out
started.
before the thing is done. Who knows?
Uh,
Depends what Joel's got going on.
Ideally, yes. 'cause
Probably
I'm-
not. You got the Fowler this weekend.
I got the Fowler,
Yeah.
which means I got to get it done before I got
early next week.
before the Fowler.
Maybe.
That's
Yeah.
all right.
So-
So we just announced that it's the 28th.
Yeah.
Right now, the final day of February.
Yep.
But we will march on. Ah, that's my
Get
little joke
out of
about-
here with that.
Anyways, let's all
damn
pick
it,
a team.
Craig.
4
Sorry,
What now?
for
mixed doubles.
Mixed doubles.
Yeah, they've only played one draw. Who's going
That's
to win
fine.
the whole thing?
Who's going to win the whole thing? I think
The final is going to be Hamilton's
whoa.
and Shoes are giving.
Okay. You go next.
Who's going to win?
Shoesty.
All right. You go.
Me?
Yeah.
Persinger, Plies
Mm-hmm.
over Sapera, and I think he's playing with an Anderson.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go. I think we made our predictions when Becca was on the show, and I'm not gonna go back and remember. I'm gonna say Delaney Strauss and Danny Casper are just gonna continue the magical run. They're gonna be in the final against. As much as I want to say Tony Cott and Melissa Fountain, I don't think that's gonna be. I don't think they're gonna get there. I'll go.
I drove them to the airport at the mixed doubles in Madison.
Nice. They were great. I met them and they were fun. I will also go with Persinger Plies. And Persinger Plies will win. I don't know. That's it. Okay, done.
Yep. Also, the Brier's about to start this weekend.
Hmm?
The Brier?
Yeah, the Brier starts this weekend.
Brier starts this weekend.
Hopefully we get to watch it. I think you said we do.
Allegedly, it's going to be
Allegedly
on ESPN
it's going to be
3.
on ESPN. Great. Super.
ESPN
Hopefully.
3, hopefully.
The
Please,
Ocho.
All right,
please, dear
pick
God.
a team. Pick
Okay.
a team that's not Botcher, Gushu, Cooey, or Dunstone. Pick one of those. Somebody else
Okay.
who is going to finish highest.
Okay.
McEwen.
Carruthers.
Jacques Gauthier.
Oh, I love that pick. That's a out of nowhere.
Sneaky.
How'd you even know how to pronounce his name?
I'd watched too much curling.
Got it.
And Kathy. I mean, Kathy is on the broadcast, so his
Fair.
mom.
Hey, speaking of broadcast, Joanne, our last guest, did a bang-up job on the Scotties. Good.
100%.
She did.
Good on her. Hopefully she gets renewed for the Brier and the Worlds and all that other stuff.
I sent her an email, I think on Monday or Tuesday, saying thanks for coming on the show, and I said I don't think you let a deuce slip the whole the whole broadcast. I don't think I ever heard her say deuce. She said she wasn't going to. I don't think she did. Then I said I think every time
Vic
Russ said deuce, I chuckled a little bit because I knew she wouldn't say it.
All right. Well, that's enough for topics now. Let's
get into our interview.
Let's talk to Mike.
All right, we got a great guest on the show today, coming to us from Northern Ontario. He's a golfer. He's a silver medalist, an Olympic silver medalist even. Yep. He got to be my skip at the Lupus Summer Spiel, which was probably a highlight of his career.
That's a highlight. That's a highlight.
He's going to be coaching at the Brier, I think, so we'll probably talk some Brier today. Welcome to the show, Mike Harris. Thanks for coming on the show today, Mike. How are you doing?
Hey, listen, gents, happy to be here, and I've heard nothing but lukewarm remarks about your show, so I'm here. I'm happy to be here.
That checks out. That story is accurate. Yeah, lukewarm reviews. I'll take it. Lukewarm reviews are better than no reviews at all. Am I right?
There you go. You
can thank Mom for the lukewarm reviews of the podcast.
Well, you'll notice on here it's Northern Ontario Curling Association. I am using their account where I work, but I'm actually in Toronto, so we're people that know me will say you're not in Northern Ontario, but I'm representing at the Brier, as you mentioned.
Because you're coaching Northern Ontario.
Is that right? You're coaching Northern Ontario? Awesome. When do you leave?
Correct. Tomorrow, actually. Wow. We have there's like a media day with TSN. I don't know if you guys catch much of the show, but it's they have the power poses before the game and all that, so that all gets taped tomorrow. The team has some media obligations, interviews and whatnot, and we have a team practice at some point, and then we'll throw rocks Friday. We don't actually start competing until Saturday, but there is a draw Friday night. So,
okay, there you go.
We're heading up tomorrow afternoon. About a 2-hour drive from where I am here in Toronto.
Well, that's not bad.
So do you have to power pose too, or is that just the team?
I do not.
Oh,
I'm not sure that would be I'm not sure how many people know I'm coaching there. That's kind of a funny thing. The team really, we discussed announcing it, and we're on the roster. If anyone goes to the website, they'll know it's not a secret or anything, but we haven't really put anything out on social media yet. So this is a quasi
I think this might be our first breaking news here on the
news.
podcast.
It's a big story. Yeah, there you go.
So, all right, speaking of this job, is this part of your new gig with Northern Ontario?
Well, it came about because of the new gig, I suppose. Our Northern Ontario provincials, and Craig, your brother-in-law, Northern Ontario legend Ian Tetley, will tell you. So up in Thunder Bay, so where the provincials were held, well north of Thunder Bay, in a place called Kenora. I was just chatting with Colin Hodgson after the game, who's an old, just a friend from the Slams and whatnot. And I said, what are you guys doing for a coach? And he goes, we don't know. I said, well, let me know if you're looking for somebody. I'm around. I'd be happy to kind of jump on board. And that's how it started. And then they called me a few days later and said, okay, we had a chat, and you're in, and which is great. And I'm really, I'm honored that they thought that I could help a little bit. Whether or not that turns into how much help I actually provide, that's a whole other story. But I've been coaching for a number of years with over in Scotland and China and with some Swiss teams and whatnot. So I feel I have a little bit to bring to the table with them, especially with a young team like Tanner Horgan. So I think I can help them out. But they give me a call, and happy to be jumping into the Brier. I haven't hung out at a Brier in quite a number of years, actually. It's probably been, I think I went to watch a few games in the Ottawa Brier, 5-6 years ago, but I actually don't, just with the nature of what I do with Sportsnet, and we're doing some WCF events and whatnot, I don't actually get an opportunity to hang out at the Curling Canada event. So I'm pretty excited spend another week at the Brier. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you're not shunned because you're like their competition, are you? You're just busy with other things, or are they?
No, I've been busy with other things, and if the Briers, it's just not something that. Yeah, no, I no, definitely not. I mean, and I do have some media access, and I've spent some time at the Briers over the years. But Sportsnet sent me in there for one or two events just to do kind of daily updates and whatnot. But I watch enough. I actually really like watching the game on TV, just so I can listen to the players and whatnot. So if I do happen to go to a Brier, usually I hang out in the patch and watch it so I can listen to the player mics. Right, that's how I like to do it. And anyway, so it'll be a very different experience. It'll be a very
patch just so you can listen
in the patch.
Well, it's
That's
one of those
why
things
you're in the
where if I'm at the venue, I can't. It's like anyone who's been to a Brier or a Worlds or a Scotties or US Championship in the arena. It's kind of cool, but I've been doing the television stuff for so many years now. It's over 20 years I've been broadcasting. I really miss listening to the players. So,
Sure.
Yeah, I use that as an excuse, Craig. But you know different. The patch is not a bad place to hang out at the best time. So we're
Perfect. So tell us a little bit more about your role with Northern Ontario Curling Association.
Well, I'm the executive director, so similar to what I know US is looking for a new executive director down there. So similar, and our association is similar in size. We have about 15,000 curlers in Northern Ontario, 40 clubs thereabouts. So I oversee all operations for that, including a hot topic in the US, paying your dues and running events and all this sort of stuff. So it's we have, like I said, we have 15 member associations, we call them, all the provinces, three territories and a few others. So it's a big job and it's a fun job, and I just kind of got back into the work. I was looking for a new gig. I've been coaching for a few years and I haven't really had a full-time gig. The commentating is great, but with Sportsnet, it's only about 6 or 8 weeks a year. So, and with my contract, I'm able to do both. So, I just started in September. So looking forward to, I said, it's just wrapping up our first full season with NOCA.
Right. And you said the provincials were both men and women held concurrently in Kenora?
They were, yeah. So we had 10 men's teams, 7 women's teams. Kristen McCarville had a good run at the Scotties last week. Ended up finishing 3rd, so they were looking good all the way through the playoffs, and then ran into the two other best teams in the country in Jones and Carrie Anderson in the playoffs. But we're hoping, like Tanner's in a little bit different situation, a young team trying to make his way into that top 5 or 6 in the country. We've got the usual suspects here with Vushu Botcher, Kevin Cooey, of course. There's and Matt Dunstone's had a great year. So there's a lot of good teams. So our team, it would take a special week for us to kind of get through into the playoff round. But the guys are ready, so we had a great event up in Kenora. We set them up in an arena. We got it streamed for the first time. So it felt like a big event, and hopefully the players feel really well prepared for the Brier.
Yeah, that's great. I think I watched a few games from the Northern Ontario.
Yeah, we had a good sponsor who came on board with Unibet, and they said it was a great event and good ice, and like I said, I think the guys always love playing in an arena. Guys and girls love playing in an arena whenever they're given the opportunity. So it was the first time they said that we've streamed all of the games.
Sure.
You could watch if your niece or nephew was playing on sheet A against whoever, you could have watched the game. We streamed every game live from the event. So it was thanks to Jerry Gertz and Curling Zone and that Curling Stadium product they use. So it was really, really good for us.
Yeah, Joel's a nerd for that. He pushes buttons sometimes.
I do. Actually, I did get the chance to go up to Kenora to do that, but the men's and women's nationals in Denver was starting like a couple days after that was going to end.
Yes, exactly. I know. Were you working there with John Benton, right?
Yeah.
And that crew.
I looked at getting in and out of Kenora, and it was like, I'm not doing that.
Got it.
Because it's
can't get there from here. Like,
correct.
From Toronto, I flew to Winnipeg, Manitoba, different province for those of you listening, and then drove 2 hours east back into Ontario to get to our provincial championships. There's no easy way to get to Kenora, but yeah, I got to tell you, it was my first visit north of Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay used to host a bunch of big cash bills. They had the Scotties there last year, and it was beautiful. I have to say, it was really, really nice region, and it's kind of a cottage country for Winnipeg. I said it's an hour and a half or 2 hours or so, and just a fantastic region. Tons of lakes and lots of cottages and homes on the water and whatnot. So it was a beautiful place. Cold, minus 40, but cold. But cold. Yeah.
I was in Kenora about 100 years ago.
Yeah. You used to have a cash bill there, I think, Craig. Did you go and play there?
Yeah. Yeah. I played in the cash spiel in Kenora one time, probably like mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
And we might have even still been in juniors.
Yeah, your brother-in-law told me he won a few spiels up there. He was he probably was lying, exaggerating a little bit, knowing Ian, but
so we're all of, like whatever, 20, because I know I was with my junior team, but maybe it was our first year in the men's.
Right.
And we were going to go out to some bar, and we didn't know what bar to go to. And
the only one.
We start to walk into one, and there's a bouncer that's like, I don't know, about 7 feet tall, and just a monster of a man. And he sees the four of us walking up the steps to come in, and he kind of just stands in front of the door, and he shakes his head, and he's like, "You boys don't want to come in this bar." And we're like, "Okay, thank you." And we left. We found some other bar.
That's awesome.
The bar that we were at, could see the first bar that we tried to go to. And in the 2 hours that we were sitting in this other bar, we saw police show up on 2 separate occasions.
Awesome.
So it was like that bouncer might have just saved our life. I don't know.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's not that far from Duluth, right? Like Duluth to Thunder Bay was an hour and a half drive, something like that. And then I think it's about a 4 or 5 hour drive. So, I mean, not that it's not far, but you could drive there certainly from Minnesota. So I'm not sure where home is for you, Craig, but
that'd
Southern Wisconsin. It's a long ways away, but
that's where Madison.
That would tack on like 5 hours from Duluth. So
okay. Well, it's 20-year-old driving 10, 12 hours for Boston, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
It's fine.
Yeah. Case of beer, no problem. I mean, case of Mountain Dew.
There you go. Well, once you cross the border, you're good.
Okay, yeah.
South of the 49th, you're in trouble. But yeah, once you got across the border, you're good at age 20.
Yeah, but you're only across the border for like a half an hour, an hour. Once you pass through like International Falls or something.
There you go.
Nice. I forgot what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, last show we had.
I got a question.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah.
So you alluded to these other teams that you'd been coaching over the last several years. Can you tell us a few of who those teams were and what kind of experiences you had? Because I know you spent a lot of time overseas coaching.
Yeah, I worked. I guess the long version is that I was in the golf business until 2012, and then got asked to go over and work in Switzerland. And while I was there, I ran a little place called Champery, Switzerland. They wanted to develop a high performance center that was not dedicated to Swiss athletes. It was open to anyone to come visit. So I was there for 2 years and worked with teams from all over. Mostly a lot of the B group teams and Europeans. Went to the Europeans with Spain the first year I was there. Worked for teams from Latvia and Hungary and Russians sent 40 juniors to see me for a couple of weeks, and it was really an interesting gig. And it was a great deal. I was 2 weeks in Switzerland, 2 weeks back in Canada. I did that for 2 years. That was when I was negotiating with them. I was in the golf business. I had a really nice head pros job at a big club in Toronto, and for them to lure me away, they said, "What do you need to do?" I said, "Well, I want to. If you pay my flights, I'll come over." And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, well, that's not enough. Okay, pay me this amount of money, pay my flights. And they said yes. I said, okay, give me an apartment, pay my flights, and do this. And they finally said yes. And I said, okay, well, I'm coming then. And I went and I just decided, well, I walked away from a 25-year career in the golf business, right? It was hard. It was a big leap. And I thought I can always get back into the golf business when I come back. So I ended up working there for 2 years. That was leading into Sochi, like 2012, 2013. And then after Sochi happened, the contract changed a little bit. They didn't want to pay me a salary anymore. They wanted to kind of base it solely on people who were visiting. It was actually owned by it was run by the tourism board in this little town. They're trying to fill up hotel rooms, and it was actually pretty interesting concept. So anyway, I came back, and then later that year, I got asked to go coach for Coach Tom Brewster in Scotland. And Tom, he'd lost a couple of world finals and was part of that Murdoch team that won the silver in Sochi. And so I accepted and went and worked with them for a couple of years. And that's where I worked with Ian. Ian was coaching David Murdoch's team, Ian Tetley. And so we worked there for a couple of years. And then I came back and then I got a call from China, worked over there for a couple of years. I worked with all of the teams there, the men's, the women's, the juniors, went to all the worlds with them for a couple of years. So I had a very, very interesting 5-6 years. And then by the time that happened, I never really did get back into the golf business. I still have my PGA card and all that, but I never did get back working at a club. So, and I coached Irene Shorey's team for the last 3 years, I guess. Well, if you count COVID, 2.5, however you want to stretch that out.
Nobody's going to fact check it, Mike. It'll be fine. You just tell us all.
It's just one of those things where anyway, it was great experience coaching them, and now here we are. And then I decided I might want to get a more steady gig, and that's how I applied for this job with Northern Ontario. So after 8 or 9 years of coaching, I just wanted to kind of get back into the regular, I'm using quote unquote regular workforce, not kind of be a freelancer anymore. And I got the job to be the executive director of the Northern Ontario Curling Association in September. So that's where we are. So I've had a lot of great experiences, a lot of fun. Like I said, I've been really fortunate to travel to a lot of cool places over the last 10 years, I guess, and kind of settled down a little bit now with this job.
How big is the Northern Ontario Curling Association? Like how many?
Area-wise, it's huge. We have about 10,000 curlers.
Okay.
In Northern Ontario, 41 different clubs, 41 different facilities. 15. If you look at the number of people that curl, have curled once a week type of thing. I think it's closer to 15 or 17,000, something like that. But dues paying. We're around 10,000.
Sure.
Okay.
Over 40 clubs.
Nice.
It's a big region.
And how long have you been doing the Sportsnet gig?
I've been commentating for 20 years, if you can believe it. My first game, this will date me very nicely. Mm-hmm. The first game that I did with Joan McCusker with CBC Sports and Don Whitman was Brad Gushu winning the Canadian Junior Championship.
Whoa.
So 2001.
All right.
So that was our first show. That was February 2001. So this will be 22 years doing it. And it's funny, when I got the job, I said to Joan, I said, if we get through Torino 6 years, that'd be a good run. Here we are 22 years later, and I love it. Honestly, I love doing it. And sports, we worked for CBC, did all the Brier and Scotties and the Worlds and all that sort of stuff. But we only ever did the final weekend. Leading up to about 2007 or 2008, something like that.
Got it.
And then Sportsnet came in and bought the CBC. Actually had the Slams for like 2 or 3 years, maybe 2 years, and then Sportsnet bought the Slams, and I've been working with Sportsnet. And I do work for CBC doing the Olympic coverage here in Canada as well.
Yeah.
And I've done 7 Olympics.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Congratulations.
How old am I?
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty old. 6 Olympics. 6 Olympics. 6 winter games. I did 1 summer games. I went to Rio to do golf coverage as well. So like as a golf background.
Well, that's awesome.
I did a radio show in Rio as well. So I'm hoping to go to Paris to do some golf as well.
Sweet.
We'll
be
see.
great.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I actually had a job in Tokyo for golf in that COVID
Got it.
shut her down, so I
Got
didn't
it.
get to go over there.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, we had Jill Courtney on a show ago, and she was very complimentary of you and the commentary you did together. She's like, Mike was holding me
Yeah,
up.
it's very kind of her. Yeah, she was fun, like so much energy, and if anyone had a chance to catch her at the Scotties, I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, for sure.
I was chatting with Bruce Rainey, who was our play-by-play guy, and I said, "Oh, we kind of set her on her way, and look at her now. She's doing a great job and doing great work." So, hopefully, they hire her on full time at TSN. I haven't heard what's going on there, but I loved what she was doing, what she brought to the show. She just brings a ton of energy. Like anyone who follows her on social media knows. How I'm going to use these words only because she uses these words. It's a place to put her crazy. She uses like so much energy and so much activity. Like I said, how do you get up and work out before you do like all these shows? Because I just have to I just have to put my crazy somewhere. I said, okay, I'm going to use that. And she said, you can go ahead, you can do that. So anyone who says, okay, watch what you're saying, I said, those are her words, everyone. Those are her words. So.
Yeah,
but I know I loved working with her. She had a ton of insight, especially when it comes to the modern sweeping. Like the last 5 years in sweeping has just been insane, right? Like how the game's changed. So she has so much insight to that. And no offense to Russ, but he's a skip like me, and he doesn't know anything about sweeping. Well, sorry, he knows the theory of sweeping. He knows the theory of sweeping like I do, but I can't relate to a lot of the stuff she talks about, right? I just can't. I mean, I wish I could, but it's better to have someone who does it.
I mean, you are a 6 foot. You're a 6 foot all-star. I mean, from the T line back, you're just a monster.
T line back.
Yeah.
Russ, well, yeah, we're among the top 30 or 40, 50, 60, 70 skips in the world from the T line back. There we go.
Well, you were.
You were,
maybe not anymore. But
there you go, Craig. You're one of us. It's okay. You're okay.
In your
you're
prime,
one of us.
you were just like I was in my prime, amongst the top 7.
I'm just stupid enough to think I can still do it. That's the only difference. That's the difference between you and I. I'm still dumb enough to think I can sweep from the T line back, but maybe not.
I got to sweep in league now because I play with my wife. She skips, and I play with my 11-year-old. I've been bumped down to lead, so I got to sweep every week. I'm getting back into form.
You enjoying that?
I'm enjoying playing with my son.
Yes.
And my aunt.
That's awesome. That's awesome. See, I thought I was in trouble, but actually Craig's going to be in trouble when this is over.
No, she never listens. None of our wives listen to the show.
Okay, we're good.
Somebody's going to have to tell her.
That's awesome.
No, we have a good time. She's a little hyper competitive for her experience level, and so she will come home from league on any given night, and she plays like twice as much as I do, 3 times as much as I do.
Yeah, same with mine too. Actually, same. Kat, my wife plays like 3 times a week. It's like, okay, whatever.
And then she'll come home and she'll like interrupt whatever I'm watching on TV, and she'll like bring up the web stream from our.
She's got the rocks out, and here, look at this call. And...
No, she just like rewinds it and finds the spot in the game. And she's like, "What should I have called here? Why do you think I should have called that?" And then
you can't say just slide better, slide straight, or make your shots. You can't just say that.
No,
that wouldn't go over well.
No.
And there's no defense for perfect execution usually, but
right.
Then she obviously her Thursday night ladies team doesn't have perfect execution, so then it comes down to her second guessing her strategy constantly.
Yeah, it makes me laugh. Yeah, well, let's talk about the strategy. Wow, how about you just miss the rings against 3? There's nothing to do with strategy. Like you just got to sometimes you just got to draw the house. That's how it works.
There's a shot you should play, and there's a shot your team can make.
Yep.
So
there you go.
There you go. World class skip, Joel Dietz. There we go.
Boom.
Nailed it.
He knows.
I played enough charity spiels.
Exactly.
That I know, Mike, you're not calling the same game as you did in not.
We were talking about HOH last night, actually, and the bacon situation, and we're chatting with Rich Hart. My men's league team's pretty good. We got Richie Hart playing third, and his son's playing. Well, Rich plays second, his son plays third, So a month ago, none of us were doing anything for March, and we're scheduled to come to HOH.
Oh,
And
awesome.
then 2 weeks after that, we're all going to Brier.
Nice.
So that makes no sense, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
Joel got the last minute call from Mike McEwen, and they brought Rich along to coach. So, and then I'm coaching the Northern guys, and off we go.
Well,
so what's your thoughts on this? Speaking of, you're going to talk about your competition in regular Ontario. I'm not going to call it Southern Ontario. I'm going to call it the rest of Ontario.
Yeah.
The Ontario with all the people part. Less trees and bears.
Yeah.
What's your take on the state of curling down there? Because Glenn, he's a million now, and he just keeps winning. And like McEwen came in, and he's got a good team with guys from Ontario, but they seem to not have. They don't have the marquee
depth.
Names, for sure anymore.
The problem with curling now, the competitive curling now, is that in order to be as good as the top teams in the world, it requires so much. So the gap between even Glenn Howard at age, I don't know how. I think he's 60.
Is 60 or 61?
I just told you.
Yeah. So Glenn's 60.
Yeah.
And then you got Epping, who's John's not super young. Like I'm 55. But John's got to be at least 42, 43, somewhere in there. So the problem is the gap. If you're not working at the game full time ish, you just can't keep up, right? So the gap, especially when it comes, and we talk about the sweeping these days is incredible. So if you don't have 4 people who are able to do basically essentially a full-time commitment to the sport, there's just this massive gap. So Glenn's got a team that is talented and plays lots, and they play less than they used to, but the gap is so big that even if he just shows up at provincials, he's going to finish in our top 2 or 3, like without too much difficulty. And for young teams to break through, it's just really, really difficult. So the state of the game, it's concerning because it's not only in Ontario, it's all the provinces. You've got, in Manitoba, they got 2 or 3 pretty good teams, Dunstone and Carruthers. In Alberta, there's a couple teams in Botcher and Cooey. And there's a few teams that are close. So, there's the Colton Flashes of the world, and teams like that are kind of anywhere from 10 to 25 in the world, call them, right? Mm-hmm. Even the gap between the top 5 or 6 in Canada and everyone else is huge. So it's just really hard to break through. And I don't know what the answer is. It's, in the States, you're seeing it too. You got Corey Dropkin and John, and John's not playing as much as he used to anymore. Corey's still putting in the time, and John plays a lot more in the States, I think, than Corey does. Corey travels a bit more, but even that, just with 2 or 3 very, very good teams, the gap to number 5 or number 6 or whatever the number you put on it is so huge that it's really hard to close the gap. So every country is suffering from the same type of challenge in that there's 2 or 3 good teams in Sweden, there's 2 or 3 good teams in Switzerland, there's 2 teams in Korea, there's 3 teams in Japan. So what's the right number what's the depth that you need to achieve to win a medal? And it's been proven that if you have 8 good curlers in a country, like I'll go to Sweden, so you got Hasselborg and Edin. Mm-hmm. No one's knocking Nick Edin's team off the top of the men's podium over there. The second best men's team in Sweden is off the charts. You don't know where they are. You've never heard of them. You've never seen them play. So once Nick decides to pack it in, then what, right? So a lot of countries are facing the same challenges, but the difficulty is for most countries, including Canada, is that your funding to the amateur sports governing body is so dependent on Olympic results that it's really tough to not focus a lot of energy on those 2 or 3 or 5, whatever the number is, top teams. So we're suffering the same fate that a lot of countries are. And it's becoming more and more apparent. Like the challenge we have in Canada isn't that the top 3 or 4 teams aren't good enough. The challenge is the expectation is gold or bust. And to be honest, of any medal at a world championship is a very good result, right? That's, you can't say that, pick a team, pick Brendan, you can't say that Brendan Botcher is a better medal favorite than Nick Edin or Bruce Mowat from Scotland,
Sure.
right? Mowat and Scotland, Mowat and Edin will be the favorites at the World Championship this year. So what do you do if you're Canada, right, or any other country?
Yeah.
Like, so how do you combat that? It's really hard to combat it. So
and then there's like the next tier is like Canada's right on their heels. Switzerland's going to be right there probably.
sure,
And then
sure.
I mean, you roll the dice,
And then
and
and then if it's John or Corey Dropkin, fine. But if one of those guys don't win the nationals in the U.S., then what, right? Like,
yeah,
is
it's John.
it'd be
John
tough.
won.
Yeah.
So
it's John.
John won a couple
I know.
weeks ago.
I'm just saying, like, say the
yeah,
third best,
next year.
say the third best team happens to win next year, right?
Yeah.
And the challenge is that if you have, say, you finish 8th at the Worlds or 9th at the Worlds, Canada or whomever, you don't have enough points to automatically qualify for Olympics. Then you got to go to this Olympic qualifying event, and if you don't get through, you don't get through. Like, it's really, really hard, right? Like,
Yeah.
the U.S. had to get through that at OQE
For mixed
for
doubles.
Sochi, actually,
Yeah.
right? So for Sochi, the guys had to go over there and play. So anyway, it was
time for mixed doubles. Joe and
right, yeah. Plies and Vicky went over there, right?
Plies and Vicky,
And
yeah.
they qualified and they won, so which is great. So it's just really difficult. It's so I don't. Long answer to Craig. I don't know what the state of curling is in Canada, other than at the very, very top, it's tough. It's a tough grind, and I think the expectations of Canadian fans needs to be adjusted a little bit. Like, anything, just accept, like, okay, if they make the playoffs and win a medal, awesome job, right?
Yeah.
Awesome job. So, and I think any country could probably say the same, right? You see any,
Sure.
there wasn't very much joy in a silver medal in 1998, I can tell you, but now looking back, it's like, okay, pretty good, actually.
Yeah. It's still really good.
It's a long time ago, but
Really good.
But expectations were different, right?
For
So,
sure.
but yeah, a lot of it is really, I hate to say it, a lot of it's just money related, right? Like, where does your funding come from? Your funding comes from government support, and we're very much in a similar boat here in Canada. And I'm finding out that more and more about that in my job, right? With Northern Ontario Curling, because you're going to government agencies, different government agencies for grants and high performance this and DEI that, and you're really trying to figure out ways to get money into the sport to develop things at the grassroots, so that hopefully that trickles. You're trying to trickle up into high performance rather than the other way around, right? Which is not easy to do.
Got it.
So then you have to find other sources of funds that aren't tied to.
It's not just your members paying the dues, right? Yeah, it's not just the members paying the dues that cover. It's not enough to cover your high performance costs.
And
Essentially, right?
members
the
can
challenge.
get a little pissed off if all their dues are going for high performance curling, or
You just can't do it. Actually,
Yeah.
you can't physically do that. So there is, and like I said, the Canadian government's good. They have the program called Own the Podium that's very good. Sport Canada has funds that are available for all the national sporting associations, not just curling, any other sport. But and I know how heavily the USA curling relies on the Olympic program as well, right, for funding. So it's not just, like I said, it's not just our country, it's all the countries around the world where the Olympics is the big carrot, right? You do well at the Olympics, and that provides dollars to your association. So you could say the rich get richer, but just qualifying for the Olympics for a lot of countries really changes the dynamic. I know the Czechs won a spot in the mixed doubles Olympics, and it changed their whole funding structure in the country, right? So
Hey.
you can go back, you can go all the way back to 1998 when Denmark won the silver medal in the women's, and it changed everything for them, for that country. So it's important, but it's hard to quantify that doesn't necessarily to translate into more members, more curlers, that type of stuff, right? So it's a very delicate, it's a very tricky balance with our grassroots club level curlers and our high performance curlers.
Got it. I think, great answer. First of all,
Yes.
That was a long answer.
it was
but
a little
yeah,
long. That's
anyway.
okay. It's good info.
Yeah.
We'd be remiss if we had you on and we didn't talk a little Brier at least. You're obviously going to coach, but I'm sure,
Yeah.
are familiar with most of the teams there. Are there any storylines you see coming out of the Brier, or like, I mean,
Yeah, I
What's-
mean,
Like, we're not going to ask you about results.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Tell us exactly who's going to win.
Botcher,
If you want.
Gushu, Dunstone, Cooey are the top 4 seeds, right?
Probably, yeah.
So that's how they're seeded.
Got it. Okay.
So it's just a question of who plays really well, and then who secures those other playoff spots, right? So I said teams like Reed Carruthers and I should have the draw in front of me and know them all, but I don't, sadly. But it just you have to play really well. The playoff format was a little I'm not convinced it's the best format for moving forward.
Yeah, that's kind of goofy.
There was some
That's the Scotties.
criticism at the Scotties. Well, we were chatting about it last night, where on the Friday, the playoff games, the 2-3 game, which is a crossover, the 2 and 3 teams play the other 2 and 3 from the other pool.
Mm-hmm.
That's an elimination game.
Right.
All right. So if you win that game, you go to play the number 1 seed from each pool, which is a non-elimination game on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. So they're eliminating 2 teams on Friday,
Yeah.
and then you play Saturday, and those teams don't get eliminated. The losers go to the semis, and the winner goes to the final. So that makes no sense at all. Or the winners go to the 1-2 game, the losers go to the 3-4 game. So how do you have an elimination game and then a non-elimination game right afterwards? It makes no sense to me at all. But it's the first year that they've let the top 3 teams in that aren't qualified for the Brier otherwise, which I think is a great idea, because at the end of the day, you have to send your best teams to your championships, right? So, we had 2 provincial finals in Manitoba and Alberta where it didn't matter who won, because the winner or the loser were going to the Brier anyway.
Okay.
So the solution for that, from my standpoint as a curler, is to say, okay, send the teams that have got their qualification already to the Brier already. They don't go in the provincial championship. So the winner of Manitoba and Alberta would be people that otherwise weren't going to get in anyway. And the final means something. Like, the final is important now. So, they had Botcher missed a shot to, I don't know if he had a run back to win or something like that. And he missed the game, and he went, oh, well, no big deal. Going to Brier anyway.
Right.
That's no fun. So I don't know what the right
Would those
solution is,
teams
but
miss? Would those teams actually want to play in the provincials?
Maybe, but I think you have to make the choice for them. You can't just say you can play if you want. I don't think that makes sense at all. Either you play or you don't play. I think if you're going to play, you're giving up your CTRS spot, and then nobody would give up that spot. Like, if you know you're going to go to the Brier regardless of how you do, then you're going to the Brier, right? So give me my spot in the Brier, and off you go. And the teams play so much now as well. Like, it's not like they're going to be missing competitive reps, right? So I don't think anyone wouldn't. If you knew you're going to go to the Brier and you weren't allowed to play provincials, I don't think anyone's going to be upset.
Okay.
But the people who are upset are the people who run the provincial association. So I've had several conversations with my provincial colleagues about this topic, because they want teams to play in their provincial championship to try to sell tickets, to have people show up at the venues and
they want that final Botcher.
So there's a
versus
vested
Cooey.
interest from them in some ways. But then on the flip side of that, you got Brad Gushu. When Brad Gushu does not win the Brier and is not Team Canada, and he goes into provincial playdowns, they get 2 or 3 teams play. Yeah. Because they know they have no chance.
Right.
When Brad is Team Canada and he's not playing, they get 10 or 12 teams play, because they all want to. This is okay.
We have a
chance to go to the Brier, so let me in. So there's pros and cons to both arguments. I'm prone to just letting the teams in before provincial championships, so that all the provincial championship final games are important. That's the way I look at it.
So how many would you?
But my view wasn't well received by some of the other provincial member associations. I can tell you, they didn't like me saying that type of stuff.
Got it.
So anyway,
rabble rouser.
I think that's a good point.
Well, yeah.
Like,
I know you're not going to like what I have to say, but I'm saying it anyway. So.
Yeah, and I agree that I don't think if you are already qualified, you should be able to help determine who your competition at the next.
And you're also knocking guys out that might want to play too, right? That's the other part of it, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, so I'm getting it plugged. My phone, my computer's about to shut her down, so
gotta
plug in.
I can understand the other concept there, though, in that this year I don't know exactly how the CTRS all worked out, but maybe both Cooey and Botcher are in.
They would have been in. Both of them are in, no matter what.
So then the two biggest names in Alberta aren't even allowed to play in their provincials.
Right.
And where's the draw then? And like I get the other point of view, but I also, my opinion is similar to yours in that if you're qualified, you don't get to choose. You don't get to help choose who's going to be your competition at the next event.
Right. Makes sense, right? Like and I'm glad we sorted that out. So let's all pass this on to Curling Canada. We'll figure that out.
Absolutely.
I'm sure they watch the podcast anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll send it straight to Curling Canada, right to the top.
Yeah.
Who's in charge up there these days?
Ian Tetley, I believe.
No, he's only in charge of the Oakville Curling Club. And that's questionable at best.
Right.
It's a new job. He's only been in it like 2 weeks. So
got it.
I'm gonna say Nolan.
That's one of those ones where it's best for me not to give the real answers based on where I'm working and what I do for a living.
So that's fine. Yeah. Perfect.
You
abstain.
What are your thoughts on streaming versus broadcasting on TV?
Yeah, interesting. This is again understanding that I work for television in my other life. I think there's room for both. That's my initial thought. I think there's actually room to have both ways of viewing the game. It wouldn't break my heart to see 2 or 3 games streamed from the Brier or Scotties or whatever, and then they still have their feature game, and it can be an unproduced show, a little bit like Curling Zone does their Curling Stadium or whatever, however they want to do that. So I think there's room to have both. I've watched quite a few. I've watched more games than I ever have probably this year being streamed, and maybe because there are more games, or maybe because I was doing a little bit of work with some mixed doubles stuff that we're doing up here. But obviously the quality of the show isn't nearly as good with the cameras and the lack of I don't know what the best way to put it, but you're not having replays and the audio is not as good, the replays, all that sort of stuff. So, but I think as someone whose daughter is curling in British Columbia on the west coast of Canada, and I live in Toronto, I've watched a dozen of her games, right out in BC, because I could. Whether it's the moms streaming it on Facebook or whether it's produced from, but I'm happy to watch it, right? I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to watch the game somehow. And then when she was at the provincial championships, then Curl BC had their stream that they were putting up, and it was great. Like, honestly, I was really, really grateful to be able to watch it. So I think there's definitely a market for it. It's really tough sell. Like, that's, just having gone through it with Northern Ontario Curling, trying to find a sponsor, and you want to produce a professional enough show that your sponsors are going to appreciate it. If you're just kind of running the camera that's stuck to the glass and showing each end and you're panning and tilting, that's not the same thing, in my opinion, as streaming it for sponsors or for events, right? So there's about 3 different tiers of coverage that you can provide. One is decent pictures where you're showing it and have someone actually holding a camera or manipulating. Jerry, you've worked with cameras, Joel, where you can actually pan the camera and you can do it remotely, which is remarkable to me. Like, someone sitting in Duluth, working camera on a show in Edmonton, Alberta, right? It's crazy that you can actually do that. There's the capability of doing that.
I produced the Saskatchewan junior finals from here.
Right. It's crazy that you can actually, that type of technology is available to me. Again, I'm just kind of an old guy with a laptop, right? So I find that fascinating. So there's that level of coverage. Then there's the next level of coverage where it's cameras, no commentating, and then it's the third level where it's literally someone holding their laptop up to the screen and then panning down and panning. That's all they're doing, right?
Yep.
So
Right.
there's about three or four different levels of coverage for streaming, and that all pales in comparison from a quality standpoint to any type of TV coverage, whether it's World Curling TV or whether it's TSN or whether it's the stuff we do at Sportsnet and CBC, which are, again, most of the guys who are doing the work on those shows are the same people. The camera guys are all the same, and it's just different.
Oh, yeah.
A different truck.
Yeah, well, they leave
essentially.
they leave these events and go do like baseball or basketball or.
Yeah, they're camera guys, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the TSN and Sportsnet guys, they're shared with sport. Like I said, we share a lot of the crew, and the big difference is the production, like who's actually producing and directing the shows. That's obviously a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think there's room for both, and I don't think having more coverage is necessarily a bad thing. I just think you got to be really careful when it comes to. There's all this debate about who owns the shows and who does this and that and the other. Like, is there really an ownership of a junior Bonspiel when the mom's shooting the show on her iPhone, right? Is there an ownership aspect to that? Probably not, right? But once you get into season, for us it's called season champions events and the slams with Sportsnet. There's definitely an ownership factor there. So I get why those games aren't streamed necessarily, because is it beneficial to the sponsor is probably the number one factor, right? Is it something the sponsor wants? Would it dilute the audience numbers a little bit from the show? So if TSN was showing all 4 sheets live all the time, would they still get the same numbers on their feature game as they have? Now they're going to lose probably, call it 10 to 15% of the audience to watch. A person from Nunavut watching their daughter-in-law curling at the Scotties, they're not watching TSN anymore, right? And the same thing would apply to our slams, right? So if it's not the feature game, how much of our audience would be lost?
Sure.
So I don't know what the right answer is.
So like, let me ask you this though, like if in that situation that you just brought up, like TSN showing all 4 sheets and, 5,000 people are watching PEI versus New Brunswick instead of watching the feature game, and a couple hundred are watching Nunavut game.
Right.
Is that if those people are transferred from one TSN outlet to a different TSN outlet, is that a net loss?
Unless they're airing it, like if they're only streaming it, that's different too, right? So,
sure.
Interestingly, CBC announced recently as far as live sports goes, they're looking at they're not going there yet, but they're actually considering going to 100% streamed stuff because they had the biggest numbers they've ever had for Beijing. Beijing, most of the stuff was you could watch on your app on your phone, right? It didn't matter which event, which sport. They had wall-to-wall coverage of every event, every skier, every skater, every curling game, every whatever. You could have watched every minute of coverage of any sport on your phone on the CBC Olympic app, right? So they're considering going to 100% streaming for all sports, not just Olympics. They're talking about just almost getting away from live sport coverage on television, quote unquote television, even though if I decide I want to watch the game, I can put it on my TV because everyone's got a smart TV and you can just load up the app and you're watching it anyway, right? So it's just a question of changing the whole
How they monetize
how
it.
you measure things, right? That's the difficulty, right?
Yeah.
How do they quantify those viewers? And again, Jerry at Curling Zone, he has a totally different business model. He's all about the clicks, right? He had 550,000 people click in and out of his site during our provincial championship on one day. And when you show that to a sponsor, 550,000 people, individual clicks on the show, that kind of blew them away. They had no clue that this was even feasible in the sport of curling.
Yeah.
We're really lucky in curling that we have so much coverage, right? And so many people are able to tune in wherever they want. So yeah, again, I'm the wrong guy to ask the question, what's right or what's wrong, but I think there's room for both. I think there's just there's a lot of questions that need to be asked in the right way, and then maybe we're not asking the right question.
And like here in the U.S., we're not gonna get ESPN to show up at the U.S. National Championships in Denver, so we can't hold our breath and wait for TV coverage to come to us because they're not.
Right.
They wouldn't even broadcast the Scotties, and ESPN got the coverage for free.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they're not even broadcasting,
because it always ends up being decent numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when the Olympics is on, like NBC's, they will tell you the best numbers they get, even in the States, is figure skating's usually number one, which is weird, and then curling is number two, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like how does that not translate into someone wanting to cover the sport? And I know their NBC's kind of changed their what's the word? They used to have a dedicated sports channel, right?
They shut down.
I'm not sure they do anymore.
They shut down NBCSN. They shut
Universal
down,
was it Universal?
They shut down NBC Sports Network channel. They shut down the Olympic channel, and I think they're moving everything over to Peacock Plus or whatever that is, the online streaming.
Well, that's a little bit like what we're doing up here. Like Sportsnet's got Sportsnet now. Like I said, CBC's got their app that they use. It's called CBC Gem. So if you don't have those on your tablet or your phone or your laptop, whatever, then you need to get it. Otherwise, there's no other way to watch this stuff, right? So,
well, if CBC needs some experienced producers that do streaming for curling, let me know.
I will do that.
Yeah, have technology.
As long as you gotta hire the right commentator.
Correct. Because that is not my forte. All right. Before
we can work a deal. We can work a deal.
We'll work it out.
Yes.
We'll figure it out.
Yes. But we got some questions for you. So
sure.
First one, how did you get started curling?
My parents curled. So like a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but a lot of people I know my age, my parents curled. So they dragged me up to the club when I was 9 or 10 and started throwing rocks at a little 2-sheeter in Montreal. St. Anne de Bellevue it's called, and it's long gone. But parents got me into it. I was like 9 or 10 years old, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, good times.
Follow-up question.
Go.
So that's obviously why you're a Habs fan? Because you grew up there?
Yeah, I grew up in Montreal. We had Stanley Cup parade every year. So it was great back in the 70s.
No, not so much.
Like they won 6 cups in 8 years while I was there. So it was easy to become a Habs fan, right?
There you go. Now they have Cole Caulfield on Wisconsin.
There you go. Yeah, we just got to keep beating the Leafs whenever they can. That's all we care about now at this point.
All right. I guess this is kind of a two-parter because I'm not sure. We say what's other than your home club, where is your favorite place to curl? Where's your favorite curling club?
Well,
so I guess what's your current home club, or what would you consider your
my home
club?
Yeah, I curl out of Tam Heather in Toronto, so we've been there since I was a junior, 18, 19 years old. I don't know, like there's a lot of fun events, right? Like I love curling the HOH down. The Duluth is a great spot. I think that's the right answer for this crowd, right? Duluth is a great spot to curl.
Yeah, we've heard it's a fun time.
Internet, like I said, the city that I've had the most success in is Ottawa. So I have a lot of great memories in Ottawa. We won our Olympic trial spot in Ottawa way back in the day. So they used to have an unbelievable cash bill there. It used to be called the Welton Beauchamp, and it played at 4 or 5 different clubs. So I would say Ottawa would be my number one city to play in.
Great, good answer.
What's your favorite
so
spiel?
mad that I missed out on that spiel.
Yeah, you're too young.
I wasn't though. Like the first couple years when I was playing in Canada quite a bit, like that spiel was still going.
Yeah.
But probably
event.
02, 03, 04 was like the end of it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And I never made it, and it sounds like it was the greatest.
It was,
spiel there could
especially,
be.
yeah. I mean, we're biased. I mean, there's a lot of great spiels around the country and the world, but they did it right. They had lots of just great parties, good ice, great fields, just a ton of fun. Right? It was just a really good event.
Boom.
I would have liked to play in one of those car spiels like back in the 70s.
Yeah, me too. I never did play in a car. I've never played in a car spiel either. That would have been fun.
And
it's funny, everyone talks about these big purses we play for now, right? Like, if you win a slam, I think it's like 30 grand, right? Like back in the 70s, we used to win 4 cars.
Right.
Also 30 grand in the 70s, right? Okay, that's better. That's better. That's like winning 120, 130 grand now, right? Like, come on.
For sure. Even the spiels, like, I think the first time I ever played you, or at least played in the same spiel as you, was one of those big spiels in Thunder Bay, when it's
the Grand Prix and the
12 to 15 grand first prize, and
the McDonald's was 20 at one point, I think, too, right?
Yeah,
that's back
20.
in the early 90s, like, right? So
even now, if you're not in a slam, like,
right, that's a great prize.
Like, that's as high as you get, period.
Yeah.
If you're not in a slam, and even the slams aren't that much higher.
Correct.
All
yeah,
right.
like four grand to qualify usually, right? Make the quarters, and win 4 grand, and then anywhere from 15 to 20 to win the thing. Yeah, those, like I said, they've been running those since the 70s,
right?
And the money hasn't changed much at all.
No,
the only thing that's gone up is the expenses.
Sure.
Nice. All right. So, setting money or championships aside, what's the best or weirdest thing you've ever won?
I don't know. I won one of those. Like, I go play these. I said that the Hollywood spiel. We won the old one of the movie thing, like click. The win your event. That was the old.
Nice.
Yeah, that was kind of fun, and we used to win video games and weird stuff. Right back, I think we won. We have a lot of meat spiels up here. You win like a box of steaks or something. So
sounds
those
great.
Are always good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Boom.
Little block radio back in the day, dating myself.
What's a talent or skill outside of curling?
Well, I'm a golf pro. I mean, a lot of people would know that about me. I'm a PGA golf pro. I wish I could tell you I could sing or something, but I really am kind of useless about anything else. I'm a quasi competent carpenter. Like, anyone who follows me on Instagram or
I did see your basement
Twitter.
bar.
I built a bar.
Looks pretty nice.
I'm sitting in my bar right downstairs right now, so I built a bar here, and I don't mind like doing framing and putting up walls and that type of stuff. Don't give me any electrical or plumbing or anything else like that, but I can build a fence. I can build a bar, that type of stuff. So yeah,
got it.
I don't know if that's a talent, but I like to do it. So it's kind of fun.
Perfect.
I'll call it a talent. I got a different follow up to that though. You said you're golf pro certified. Now, you were a golf pro in Europe for a while? Is that correct?
Yeah, for a couple of years. Yeah, I was over in Austria, in Salzburg. Yeah.
Okay. How led to you
lucky.
just going there?
If you look at I lived in Salzburg, Austria for 2 years. I've lived in Switzerland for 2 or 3 or 4 years coaching curling. So I've kind of had I'm not afraid to travel. I'm not afraid to be on my own. Like I said, it's something I'm not sure my kids have the travel bug, but I think of it now. Like when I was trying to think how old I was. I would have been 27, 28 when I took this job in Austria. I didn't speak a word of German. I went over there sight unseen and took this job and did it for 2 years, kind of teaching and working at a golf course. And grocery shopping was frightening the first time, right? I didn't speak a word of German. I gotta go buy. I didn't know what I'm buying, right? You can't even read the labels on the packages and stuff. So I highly encourage people to do it, though. I have to say it was was a really it's like a life lesson, right? One of those you lived a life lesson, right? To travel on your own, and I would say the same. Even just going to China to work, even though it was a more of a controlled environment. Like I didn't know what I was getting into, but I love that type of stuff. I loved going over there, and I loved. And I said the travel bug is definitely a thing for me. Somebody told me you got to go do something in this country tomorrow. Okay, let's go. Like I'd be happy to go do it. So
yeah, I've been shopping. I spent 3 months in Japan and also 3 months in Korea, and
right, crazy, right?
Yeah, it's a something simple as grocery shopping is stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and even there, at least in Germany and Switzerland and Austria, I can read the signs. Like I can phonetically read the word, right? Like,
yep,
it's the same language. At least it's the same language. Like in Japan and Korea, like you don't know what you're walking into.
Correct.
That was the one thing I found. Like, okay, like when we were in the Olympics in Nagano, we went to Tokyo for a day or two, and we're walking down the streets there, and you look at these streets, and I was like, no idea, right? You got no clue.
No chance we're getting back.
It was crazy. Well, I went to the subway on my own in Beijing. Frightening, right? Like you're getting off the blue train onto the green train onto the purple train, but you can't read the signs. You can't read it was, and then when you got off, you hope you're at the right stop because otherwise you don't know how to get home, right? So it was one of those things. So yeah, but it's cool. Like I said, you, Joel, you would have seen that. Like,
yeah,
it was, it's if you have a real sense of accomplishment walking out of a grocery store.
Well, the accomplishment comes home when you get home and you open it up and it's like, look,
this is edible.
This is
some exotic animal that I'm not going to even try and eat.
Right?
Nice. I guess we're having Korean ice cream. I don't know. All right.
Okay.
So you're going to a bonspiel, and what's your ideal team? They can be anybody.
Well, it depends,
living,
right?
dead.
It depends what you're looking for. Like nowadays, I curled my kid. Like as Craig said, you curl. My daughters. I played 2 or 3 mixed double spiels with my daughter, my youngest, and that's to me just as great as playing in anything, right? So, like I said, I'm still dumb enough to think I could do it. So I kind of want to play seniors. Then I realized my knees would be sore, and I'd have to find people who could sweep, and that sounds like a lot of work. So. I probably just try to play a mixed double spiel with my kid. I think that would be
just stick to a couple charity spiels. Make sure you got a fun team.
Right.
It'll work out.
Yeah. Well, that's it too, right? So yeah, I mean, and that's we're good at that. Like I said, with our Thursday night men's team with Rich and his kid and stuff, we have fun and we don't, haven't taken a practice slide in 4 or 5 years, and you just kind of hop out and hope for the best, right? So
perfect,
which is also good.
All right. So. Okay. Yeah. All right. Last one. Curling doesn't really have walk-up songs, but I'm assuming you're familiar with the parlance of a walk-up song. What would be a walk-up song?
You sent me this one. It depends, and there's you just asked me one about different shots. Like I kept thinking like for a draw you'd want something soft and slow, and and then for a hit you want something a little more up tempo, right? So
sure.
But I'm old school rock, right? Like I mean, Billy Joel's up tempo for me, man. Like it's one of those weird stuff. So I don't know what my walk up song would be, but at the end of the day, I would vary my song depending on the speed of the shot that I need to throw. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I don't want to bail on the question, but it's got to be something more.
We got to put something in our playlist that's out on Spotify. So what's your favorite Billy Joel song, if you're a big Billy Joel fan?
Yeah, we've got a whole playlist of every song that everybody's picked. So the playlist is really random and all over the place.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so here's 2. Here, I'll give it to you. So so my wife and I, and we're going with the Hearts. We're going to a concert in Nashville in May.
Okay.
We're going to see Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks is opening.
Whoa!
So which is going to be awesome.
All right.
So we're excited for that. So I'm going to go with Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks. Put that one in there.
All right.
Right, and then Billy Joel you can put in there whatever you want. Like I'm kind of a still rock and roll to me. How's that?
All right. I like it.
Sure.
Good
Right?
answers.
Get away from. I'm not going to answer. I ain't saying Piano Man because everyone's going to say
That's
that.
fine.
No,
That's
that
we.
song's
No, we'd
overdone.
tell you to pick a different one if you pick that one. It's
There
fine.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. I know you're not curling anymore, but do you have any sponsors or anybody you want to mention?
No, not really. I mean, I play. No, we're. I don't have any sponsors. No, we're.
What about Team Horgan? Do you want to mention their sponsors? They got sponsors.
I don't even know who they are. How about a Coach Amaya right now, right?
So perfect.
Well, you
Right?
just knew. You're
What are you
not a
talking
bad
about?
coach. You just knew.
Sponsors? We don't need no sponsors.
Yeah. Awesome. Very good.
Just cheer for Team Horgan at the Brier next
Cheer
week.
for
Just
Go
that's
Team
sweet.
Horgan.
Go Team
All
Horgan.
right.
There you go.
Perfect.
Go
All
Brier.
right, Mike. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Best of luck to you at the Brier and the team.
Thanks.
Give
Gents,
us.
I miss you guys. I got to get down there sooner than later. So,
Okay, well-
let's hope we can bump into each other somewhere in a rink somewhere and have a beer.
We'll allow it. Yeah. Just figure out some thinly veiled way that you can shout out the show when you go out for a timeout or something, and just.
Well, here's the deal. If you guys can play this game, if you guys you have my phone number, if you can text me a word, I'll squeeze the word into
Done.
the timeout.
Yes.
And
Perfect.
we'll do that.
Perfect.
And
All
we
right.
do. I play that game all the time during the slams with my kid. So the same thing applies.
Nice.
If you want to get the word, I don't know, bacon in there,
Yeah.
I'll get the word bacon in during the slam at some point. There we go.
I love it. I love it.
Bacon
All right.
plays well with this crowd for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
Best of luck to you, Mike. Thanks again.
Thanks, gents.
Good
Appreciate
curling.
it. Cheers.
All right, everybody. That's it. Season 3, Episode 9. Thanks to Mike Harris for joining us. That was a great interview. We probably have a few shows left this year. If you want us to get somebody on the show, let us know. curlingnation@curlingnetwork.com. Hit us up on social media. We're always there. Big thanks to Motus, as always, for being a sponsor. We got cards. Email the show if you want to play some ends. There should be some bond spiels coming up. I know I'm going to a few. There should be some summer spiels. What
I'll be
better to
there.
do at a summer spiel than play ends? Yeah, I think that's it. Big thanks to Mike Harris for coming on. Did I say that once already?
You did.
All right. Well, I said it twice because it was a great interview. Congrats again to Shannon Burchard and company for winning the Scotties. And Joe Courtney for
Crushing it. At
crushing
the
it
Scotties.
at the Scotties. We are not a jinx. Come on the show.
Yeah.
Nothing but positives for your curling career. Do it. Curling
Chris
Nation.
Plies came on the show and won national championship.
There you go. Yeah. Becca Hamilton
Again.
came on the show. Won a championship.
It's like we're
Just-
the Tony Robbins of podcasts.
Whoa. That's it. This is a long outro. We're going to go home now. Mike McDermott, Joel Dietz, Craig Brown.
Craig.
Craig,
Joel.
Craig.
Mike, out.